Flippity flop.
What is up, my friends? Today we're going to be going over my Sega DreamCast collection. Now, you definitely haven't seen any Dreamcast videos from my channels because I didn't have a Dreamcast for a very long time. Long story short, I haven't had my Dreamcast since about 2003 when I had given it to my brother before I left for the Marine Corps. I gave it to my brother so my nephew can play it and use it while I was gone. And then as I got out of the Marine Corps several years later, his marriage was going to shits. So with that being said, my ex-sister-in-law had all my stuff in a box in her attic for years, and just recently having a conversation with one of my subscribers, many of you may know him from around the community Blitzkrieg. We were talking in the comments section, and we were talking, Sega Dreamcast conversation came up, and basically, long story short, he was like, why don't you just go call her and ask her for it back, something that simple, which was like, you know what, let me just, I gathered up the courage to contact her and ask her for my shit back, and she didn't talk to me she didn't get back for like a week. In the past, over the years, I've asked for it, like I'd send her a text, would you mind if I get my Sega back? Never would respond, so this time I tried calling, but yeah, eventually she got back to me, and she gave it back to me. I couldn't believe it. Nice in pristine condition the way I gave it to her. She had kept it up she had kept it stored in a box for all these years. So I'm really happy to have it back. And it just so happens I got this back about a month ago. It was like on my birthday when I got it back. So this was like one of a great birthday gift to get my Sega Dreamcast back. So let's go into my small little collection we got here. I noticed when I got my Dreamcast back, a couple of games are missing. I'm missing Sega Rally Championship and one of my favorite games of all time on the Sega Dreamcast, which is Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And I just recently looked it up. Dreamcast games are very expensive to collect for, especially a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's very highly sought after. But yeah, let's get through this list. It's pretty cool. I have some video game footage for every game to show you guys in case you've never seen them or heard of them. And it took me a while to gather up all this video game footage because as I put a game in, it's been so many years since I played these games, I got stuck just wanting to play them instead of just capturing the footage and moving on to the next game. So it was a lot of fun to make this video. And without further ado, let's get this list started. So, to show you guys my Dreamcast, it's got a little nicks and here and there, but it's in pretty good condition. I had bought this right when the PS2 came out. I bought it because I couldn't get a PS2, and after the Sega Saturn debacle, I had bought a Saturn, and I got stuck with the Saturn. What killed the Saturn was there was just no games, so I got bored of it, and so I was looking to get a PS2 for my next gen. I did not trust to shell out more money for another product in the Sega Dreamcast because of what has happened with the Saturn. But I took my chances because when the PS2 came out, they had dropped the price on the Dreamcast, and I couldn't get a PS2 in my area. It was sold out for months on end. So I bought the Dreamcast, and I have to say I'm glad I did because it's a great system. Really, truly love this little console, and all the games that I got over the years for it. These games are kind of like pictures, timelines. I take a look at a disc, and it just brings back so many memories. So, yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Sega Dreamcast, 2 buttons. One will eject the top. You put your disc in. It was powered by a Microsoft Windows back then. And you have 4 controller ports. It was really cool. And I still have my 4 controllers, including the one that it came with, which is the Sega Sports controller. Those of you that aren't familiar with this, this is your memory unit. It's called a VMU, Visual Memory Unit, and it also has a LCD screen on there. And some games you can actually play on the go, like simple, basic games. But this one would store your memory. And it's cool when you fire up the Dreamcast. Whatever game you have in will show up like an overlay, kind of like the Intellivision used to have with the slide-in overlays. And it's kind of like what the new Intellivision Amico's touch screen's gonna have, like just a big, touch screen display. Pretty cool. And back here is Rumble Pack. Very good Rumble Pack. So, and I also have a couple of light guns that me and my brother used to go to town with some of the games. What was great about the Sega DreamCast is all the arcade style games. Alright, so let's get going with this list. I got about 20 or so games. And let's just start with what's on top here. And that is Power Stone 2. This game was made by Capcom. The game's like a 4-player kind of Smash Brothers type of game. The environments, the maps that you'll be fighting on are interactive. There's all kinds of power-ups, and there's weapons, you know, spread around the maps. And this, you know, when this game came out, it was just an excellent party game to play. You know, kind of like Smash Brothers, but it's different. I wouldn't call it a Smash Brothers clone. It's its own game. This was you know, an arcade game. I never played it in the arcades. I only stumbled across this for the Dreamcast, seeing that it was a Capcom fighter. I bought it without even knowing much about it, but I just heard that it was really good. The next game we got here is Sega Marine Fishing. This is a fast-paced arcade style. It's an excellent fishing game. I had a lot of fun with this. The graphics were great, and they still look beautiful. There's all different types of fish you can catch, and at the time when this disc was released, they even sold a fishing rod to go with it. But you know, I didn't buy the fishing rod. I just used my controller, and the controller works great. And it's challenging to bring in, you know, to reel in these bigger fish. There's a little bit of skill involved, which makes it fun, you know. And the response feedback from the Romo Pack is excellent. Next, we have Starlancer. Now, this is a game that I bought towards the end of, before I had moved on from the Sega Dreamcast, and I got my PS2 finally, and I just was overwhelmed with the amazing PS2 library, which I kind of stopped playing my Dreamcast. But with Starlancer, it's kind of like it's a space shooter, you know, a space shooting simulator where you're in the cockpit. Really good, and you know, I haven't gotten through the whole game. I vaguely remember it. You know, when I was capturing footage for this game, I had to learn all the controls all over again. You know, but it's pretty cool, and it's a game that I'm definitely gonna want to play now that I have it. I never really gave it a chance, you know, when I bought it. Probably because it's a single-player game, and I was always having friends over, and we always played the multiplayer stuff. So you know, this game got put on the back burner. Because we all know couch co-op is more fun than playing by yourself. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's more fun, but it's definitely more exciting to play with other people. Next, we have, I mean, this game probably needs no introduction to a hardcore gamer out there, and that is Shenmue. Shenmue is a story-driven action role-playing game that for its time it was revolutionary. This game was huge. It had there's 2 discs in here, plus a 3rd disc in the back. I'm sorry. There's 3 discs and 3 discs and a 4th disc in the back. I had, you know, played this whole game when I was a kid from start to finish, and anyone that has played this game from start to finish instantly becomes a lifelong fan of this game. It was just excellent. And over the years, there's a Shenmue 2 which was available on the Xbox, and now there's a Shenmue 3 just came out this past I think Christmas of last year, 2019. So you can get this on your Xbox One or your PS4 as a digital download for, like, you know, $20. It was on sale a couple months ago. I got Shenmue 1 and 2 for $14.99. So I've been replaying the original Shenmue, and I'm like about halfway through it. Eventually I get back into it because I want to get through. I never finished part 2. And I never played part 2. So I just wanted to refresh myself on the story before I start Shenmue 2. You know, it's on the backlog list. Now, the next game we're going to talk about is Quake III. Quake III is a first-person shooter, very fast-paced, amazing, like arena-style shooter. This was my very, very first online shooter that I would play competitively. I even bought a keyboard and mouse for my Dreamcast to up my game, because you just have a tremendous advantage using the keyboard and mouse than you did with the controller, because, you know, as most of you know, first-person shooters work a lot better with dual analog sticks, and you only have one here, so you had to use the 4 buttons as movement and your analog stick for you know, for your 360 movement. So yeah, I got the mouse and keyboard, and it was so much fun. I made a lot of, you know, cool friends from Dreamcast that eventually, you know, we met up on PS2 online, and I've kept friends from my Dreamcast days still on my PlayStation 4, you know, that is still on my friends list from 20-something years ago. It's amazing. Next game we got is Jet Grind Radio. I never got through this game. It was another single-player game, really cool. You skate around the metro environment, you know, with your spray paint, tagging up areas. It's been such a long time since I played this, so I really can't give you much information about it. Although it was popular for its day, and you know, I think it's kind of pricey now, like most of these Dreamcast games. I was into a lot of racing games back then, you know, especially with the Dreamcast having so many good ones. And the first one I'm going to show you is Jeremy McGrath. It's a dirt bike game, you know, so much friggin' fun. You know, like I said, like I was capturing footage for this game, and like all these other games, I was having a tough time putting these games down. They were so much fun. You know, some of these can be had for around 20, but you're not going to get much of a discount for collecting these Sega games, unfortunately. I guess because, you know, it wasn't a popular system, so the game, you know, the used market are in limited supply. We have another game here, BMX Dave Mirra, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I knew back when I was growing up in my late teens, he was a popular BMX racer, kind of like how Tony Hawk was with skateboards. And it's a similar game, excellent soundtracks, and you race. You do tricks and get points and all that good stuff. You can even play multiplayer. Like most of these games that I'm showing you today are mostly multiplayer games. My next game to show is Speed Devils. This was like an arcade style racer. You can't go wrong. It's a little bit on the cheaper end for Sega DreamCast collectibles. But cool, you know. Can't go wrong with these arcade racers. They were done very well. The controls, the sound effects, the music, you know, excellent games. There's still a lot of Dreamcast games that I want to collect for. Next, we have a real popular one in the Sega Dreamcast community, House of Dead. Everyone pretty much has played this, or if you're my age, you've seen this or heard about this in the arcades and played it. House of Dead 2. It's a game that me and my brother played a lot when we were kids. You know, here we got the light guns were used for that game. Really cool, and it holds up really well. You know, without a doubt. Now this one, Crazy Taxi. This game is so simplistic, so basic, yet it's so addictive and hard to put down. That is Crazy Taxi. Basically, just drive around as fast as you can against the clock, picking up passengers and then dropping them off. You know, arcade style. So much fun. A legendary soundtrack to go with it. I can't say nothing but great things about Crazy Taxi. And I think this was like, you know, everyone that had a Dreamcast had Crazy Taxi, so you can find Crazy Taxi out there in the wild for on the cheap brand because, you know, it was pretty popular. And another popular football game on the Sega Dreamcast was NFL 2K. This game was pristine for its time and a worthy competitor to John Madden Football. Some would say back in 2000 that this was better, you know. We got Randy Moss on the cover, and I was making footage, I was capturing footage for this game, and it took me back, man, when I used to play against my brother, light up the score, beating him like 80 to 20. Now there's another game for the Sega Dreamcast that needs no introduction. Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Legendary game, so much fun, along with the soundtrack. I mean, certain games you play, they're just more fun because of the amazing soundtrack. Like, you know, Streets of Rage 2. Without that soundtrack, it may just be, you know, go down in history. It's just another decent beat 'em up. But with that soundtrack, you know, you have a classic. And that's what Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was. You know, the soundtrack go on there. And I just heard, I just got wind that they're gonna be remaking this game, so that'll be cool. But hopefully, you know, with the music licensing, I don't know if they're gonna have the same test soundtrack, but yeah, I'll stay tuned. Here's another. For a long time, this was an exclusive. Street Fighter III, Third Strike. This was an exclusive for a while on the Dreamcast. Before, you know, years later, PS2 got a version of this. But for you know, at the time, you can only find Third Strike on a home console on the Sega Dreamcast. This was a good one. This one had a lot of characters that you won't see, you know, elsewhere in the other Street Fighter games, like in Street Fighter 4 or 5. You won't see a lot of these characters that are in 3 are solely in 3 only. You don't see them again. And it was pretty good. Although at times I hated using the Dreamcast controller to play on it, but it wasn't that bad. Just not as good as a PS2 controller. Here's another one, the Sega Smash Pack Volume 1. I don't know. It's some of the ports aren't that good, especially like the Golden Axe port is horrible. The sound effects aren't right. But I remember when I got this game, it was really cheap back in the day. But what's cool about this compilation is it has Virtual Cop 2 on there, you know, an arcade port of that. But you know, when I was trying to capture some footage with it, the disc was giving me problems. Although it doesn't have any scratches on it, the disc was giving me problems, so I couldn't capture. Well, now that I look at it, it has some smudges on it. I didn't even realize that when I was putting the disc in there. Now, this was a favorite of mine, seeing me and my brother and my friends, because you can play doubles matches, and so much fun to have, you know, four people playing tennis 2-on-2. This is a great tennis game, and playing it the other day, you know, capturing footage for it, it was so much fun. I had to play a little extra than needed for the footage. Excellent friggin' game, man. I think the best 2 tennis games I've ever played was this game, Virtual Tennis, and then I have Top Spin Part 3 on the PS3. Those 2 I think are my favorite tennis games of all time. You know, Mario Tennis is decent too. I mean, there's not too many tennis games to compare them to, but they're solid. Here we have Soul Calibur. When this game came out, this was the first game I bought when I picked up my Dreamcast. I picked up Daytona and Soul Calibur. Give me a racer and give me a fighter. And to this day, this game is just still holds up well. And it's I collect all the Soul Caliburs over the years. This is by far my favorite. You know, it's a weapons-based fighter that it's just excellent. I put this up there as one of the best fighting games of all time, in the top 5 list. Next we have Death Crimson Ox. You guys see that? Now this was a light gun shooter, like House of Dead 2. Similar, but not as good, but equally as fun. This was a game we got a lot of play with me and my brother when we were kids. You know, the light guns, we like to shoot stuff. Who didn't, right? I just talked about this recently in my top boxing games that shouldn't be missed. Ready to Rumble is excellent, but you can find this on every console. It wasn't just exclusive to the Dreamcast. You can find this on Nintendo 64, PlayStation. Everybody's got Ready to Rumble. I think even PC. But on the Dreamcast, it was great. One of my favorites. Now the next game was another favorite of mine, Looney Tunes Space Race. This was like your standard Mario Kart, you know, racer. You're driving around, picking up power-ups, Acme style, you know, Acme weapons to take out your opponents. It's a nice little roster of Looney Tune characters. A lot of fun, humorous at times, very colorful, well animated. The controls for the bikes, the hover bikes are great, and the environments and the tracks are so much fun. And then this is just like Mario Kart. You can do 4-player racing. Sega Dreamcast had it, man. They had that family fun factor. This game I just recently picked up, Star Wars Demolition. I didn't have this back in the day. It's kind of like your Vigilante 8. The same creators that made Vigilante 8, you know, your Demolition style racer. I haven't given it much of a chance yet, but initially I wasn't that excited. But you know me, I'm a Star Wars fan. I try and collect. I'm working on collecting every Star Wars game that ever came out for a home console. I only need a few more back. When I get every single game that's ever came out, I'm not counting PC. I may eventually do like a Star Wars video, collector's guide video. Now, my last game, but definitely not least, like I said, this was the first game I bought for my Dreamcast, this with Soul Calibur, is Daytona. Yeah, Daytona USA. Now this was the very first game I played at home that I truly felt I was playing an exact arcade replica. You know, a lot of you, if you're my age, around the same, within 10 years of my age, you know Daytona USA was a big one in arcades, in movie theaters, anywhere that had the space to have one of these Daytona USA cars, because you just sit down and drive it, and at the big arcade you'd have a bunch of these car arcade machines in sync with one another, so you'd get in the cockpit and race other people that were playing alongside with you. It's just a great experience, man. Daytona USA. And it's probably on the cheaper end for collecting Dreamcast games because, like I said, it was very popular. So yeah, that's my nostalgic Sega Dreamcast collection. There's a lot of shooters I still want to get. And like I mentioned earlier, I want to reacquire Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Even though I know it's really expensive, I want it for my collection, along with a bunch of solid exclusive shooters that had come out for the Dreamcast. So I still got some work cut out as far as collecting for the Dreamcast. I'd say another 20 games or so, and I would call my collection content. So if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I really appreciate you guys watching, enjoying with me my Sega Dreamcast collection. Maybe you found some games you've never heard of. If you want to pick them up for yourself. And I want to thank you all for watching. And Blitzkrieg, if you're still there, man, thank you for giving me that advice. It's the second time you've given me some advice that's really helped me out, and I appreciate that, man. I look forward to all you guys, in the comment section. So let me know what you thought about this, and you guys take care. I'll see you guys later. Peace.